So the next one we signed up with, that signed up with us, was Rays of Light Humanist Orphanage School. This is one of my favorite schools. When I visit, they always win the soccer games, and they have the best music, and they're just great kids. They're great school spirit. We had difficulty with them from the Anglicans. First, they sent me a note saying, we're going to become humanists. And then they sent me, and I actually said, great, I'm sending you $1,000. We have a sponsor for who wants to build a classroom. And then they said, don't send the money. Unfortunately, we have an Anglican on the board, and he's not going to let us become humanists because we rent from the Anglican church, and they're not going to let us build your building on it. And then I said, that's too bad. Well, this is annoying because I already told this person, so I was mad at him because, you know, I had to call this other person and say, actually, you're not building a building for Rays of Light because they can't. And anyway, they kicked the Anglican off the board, and they got out of the lease, and they rented some other land. So they're back in our camp, and we are building a building for them. Let's see what else I got. We do a lot of orphan sponsorship for Rays of Light, and the best thing we did for them is we're moving towards funding projects, and we bought them a maize and cassava grinder, which is hopefully, it's like almost as good as a tractor. So it's going to allow them to grind their own cornmeal. So hopefully they're going to be semi-subsistent. This is Mugeti Jimmy. This is actually a public school, and so I was kind of surprised. They're actually kind of required to teach like Anglicanism in the public school system, and the reason for that is that when Uganda got their freedom from the British, the new Ugandan government was like, well, we need public schools. How are we going to do this? And we don't have any money. And the only people and then the Catholic Church and the Anglican Church said, don't worry about the public school system. Just give us the money, we'll take care of it. So basically, the public school system is really infused with, you know, Anglicans and Catholics there. But anyway, these people signed on with us, and I got a guy. This is a guy who is. Oh, I wanted to go back to that. This is our first volunteer. There's a kid named Aaron whose dad was a chemist and he died, and so he gave me $1,000. I sent it to Mugeti. They built a classroom that they named after his dad, and now Aaron is in Uganda and he's teaching in the building that's named after his dad. This is a women's collective, and this is actually one of the main things we're doing now. We have, I think, 5 women's collectives that have come to us because they want to be humanists. This is my favorite. This is probably my favorite new humanist school. These are. It's an incredibly poor, very rural. You can only get to it by hiking 7 miles off the road, up the hill, up this hill, go up this hill. And then you get there, and that's what their buildings used to look like. And this is their branches and mud kind of building, and they got all these kids up there. It's very poor. One of the first, we always give them $50 up front to make the sign. So before they even do anything, they have to make a sign. So they all have a sign. We got them $3,500 quickly from a very nice Canadian in Montreal. What they wanted, they didn't have any fresh water. They had stagnant water, and the kids had diarrhea, and everybody had to walk 3 miles to get water, and then carry it back. So they had this terrible water problem, and they were pretty amazing. I sent them $3,500. They dug a trench 3 miles and laid a pipe, and they did it in 2 days. The whole village went out there, dug a 3-mile trench up the mountainside, and they brought the water down, and they put it in a faucet right by the school, and it says, "Thank you, Darren," and that's for the sponsor. Okay, and then we got them $1,000 to build a classroom. This is from an Australian, Meredith, and this is we hired a humanist teacher there. This guy came out of nowhere. He just sent me a note saying, "I've decided I'm a humanist and I want to teach humanism." I can't tell you how sincere he is as a humanist, or if he just saw a job opportunity. But we signed him up, and he is now our humanist teacher at this school. This next is kind of embarrassing. So I sent him the lectures. and I said, I want you to read the first lecture that I wrote on humanism to your community. So I'll show you, this is him reading it. People look a little bored, don't they? They look a little bit bored. And they look even more bored in this picture. In fact, they look really sad. It was kind of funny that he said, I read it, and I took pictures, because I said, you know, you have to prove to me that you read the humanism by taking pictures. And they looked just miserable. And then I said, and you have to ask me if the kids had any questions. And so he said, they had two questions. When will you come visit, and when will you send us food? And I think they didn't, you know, they were kind of like listening to this humanism, and is that what I was talking about earlier about material benefits? They were thinking, like, it's great, but, you know, this is boring, you know. We're pragmatic. We can't eat philosophy, right? What can we do? I want to just mention, when will you come visit? If anybody wants to go, we're planning a big volunteer excursion down there. My single favorite thing to do in Uganda is hike into the mountains and find people who have never seen white people before, and to look at the look on their faces. It's absolutely incredible. As we go hiking up into the forest, you see these kids, and they're looking at us, and they're running away, and they basically think that we're either not really human, right? We're something else, or that we have a really bad disease, that there's a bunch of us with the same disease. And for a while I thought that was really funny. Then this happened just today. I remembered I grew up in a pretty darn segregated kind of Orange County, if you know what that is. And I did not see an African American until I was 8, right? And I remember my mom and I, we were getting some gas station, and a black guy showed up in a truck, and he was pumping his gas, and I was just like, Mom, look at that guy. He's got black skin. Is he sick? Does he have a disease? So I had exactly the same reaction as the kids did. So anyway, that when will you come to visit is all about, it's about entertainment. We want to see white people. And I can tell you a lot of stories about when we go there, and these kids can't wait to see us. They don't wait for us to go to their village. They meet us like halfway down. You know, they meet us, and then they're like, oh my God, the white people are here. They're even weirder looking than we thought. But the second question was very troubling to people at Brighter Brains Institute. When will you send us food? So I got another Canadian whose name is Davida Lecomte, and she sponsored food for a year, which is kind of pricey. I think it's about $5,000 a year to pay to buy everybody food. So she did that, and then it's too much to do, you know, spend $5,000 a year. So we are funding a chicken project, which is basically, we'll give you about $5,000. We'll give it to you once. You have a chicken farm. They have, I think, 433 chickens. This chicken farm, you're going to make enough money off this chicken farm to feed all the kids lunch. So that's what we're doing. We just don't want to do handouts. We want to like start businesses that can support communities. And this is some of the chickens that they bought. These are wonderful people. I can't wait to visit them. Here's another group another women's collective that is now Humanist. And we don't have to build any buildings because they already have them. We gave them money to start a motorcycle repair shop, and they think they're going to make a lot of money off that. And they have a clinic. We gave them money for a clinic. This is another women's collective that runs a orphanage school. These are the two directors. This is the only secondary school that we take care of, which is a whole other bag of problems, as you know, with teenagers and high schoolers. It's a whole other expensive kind of thing. And we've given them money for pigs. So we've given them $3,000 for, I forget how many pigs. I think it's just 30 pigs. Everybody wants. That's the single biggest request we get. They want to have pigs, and so theoretically they're going to make enough money with their piggery to feed all the kids. Okay, and this is the last one. This is a Nyakayumba Widows Humanist Orphanage School. They made me this shirt. This is a really poor school. This is actually the school. At the time, they don't have a building, right? They got these posts, and they got a roof on the posts. Let's see if there's a That's when it was in good shape. See, over there with the mud. But then a rain came, and there's nothing left but the posts. So these people are really poor. And here's the school again. It's just the post and the roof. But we've given them some money, and this is them making the bricks, and here's a big pile of their bricks. And we have a sponsor for the clinic. It's kind of interesting. Does anybody know who Alcor is? You do, Alex. No? Alcor is Alcor, have you heard of cryonics? Cryonics are the people that will freeze you. They'll either after you die, they'll either freeze your head or your whole body. And I've convinced them that because in America the average lifespan is 80, but we want to live longer. But in Uganda the lifespan is 55, and I've convinced them to spend just a little bit of money hoping some people live to be longer than 55. So they are now sponsoring the clinic here at Nyakiyombo. Okay, so the conclusion on all of this, it's pretty much clear that that it's not that difficult to persuade African communities to become humanist. There are certain things that you read about sometimes, like I have read an essay that says that we shouldn't try to make, I read this essay that said we shouldn't try to make Africans humanists or atheists because their life is so miserable they deserve to believe in heaven. Has anybody ever read like that essay? Yeah, no, it's a pretty pervasive idea that they're so poor and so miserable that you can't take away the notion of heaven from them. That would be cruel. But the reality is that they're just like everybody else. They want to have a good life now. That's really what they want. They want a good life now, and they're willing to do. They don't actually care about heaven. What they actually care about is feeding their kids, stuff like that. Okay, and so and also humanism teaches rational thinking. We take rational thinking for granted. If you want to know if something's true or not, you'll look it up. Maybe you look up and see if there's been any studies proving it. This is not the case in Uganda. There isn't rational thinking. There's a lot of what I call anecdotal thinking. People believe like what they've heard, especially from like a friend or a relative. So it's great to teach that. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is the present campaign going on there, which is Bwambali Robert Musabaho is launching an anti-witchcraft campaign. It was actually, he called it the anti-superstition campaign, and I said I'd help him, and I actually didn't know what he was talking about too much. So I'm like, witchcraft, superstition in Uganda, I haven't even heard of it. And then I looked it up, and it's really quite appalling. He had actually told me about it, and I didn't listen, I didn't believe him. The last time we visited him, he goes, you can stay at Bazoha Orphanage School if you want. And so I was with my brother and 3 other people, and we thought about staying there. And then these 3 guys showed up with machine guns, and I go, who are these guys? And he goes, they're the guards. And I go, why do you have guards here? Did you hire guards just so we'd be safe? Because that kind of gave me the creeps, you know? He goes, oh, no, the guards are here every night. And I go, why are they here? And he goes, they're here to protect the orphans. We don't want anybody killing the orphans. And I go, why would anybody kill the orphans? He goes, people like to sacrifice kids to make sure that their building has a good future. And it was like this weird idea that I didn't even listen to. It just kind of went over my head. I'm kind of like, yeah, right. And anyway, I looked it up online, and it is true that there's this notion in downtown Kampala that the blood of a child should be sprinkled like into the foundation or something of a building, and that these builders are paying a lot of money to like witch doctors. And so you can see there's this guy, like this witch doctor with this knife, and so there's all these stories of kids either disappearing or their murdered bodies being found, and sometimes they're found and they've had an arm or a leg cut off, and sometimes they're found and they've been castrated, the boys have been castrated, and there's this actual like ritual murder of kids going on. So anyway, that's what he's working on. He's going to buy some radio time, and he's going to have some public debates, and he's making posts. Here's another picture of, these are like posters that are going on. So he's not doing the first anti-superstition campaign, but this is like a poster of there's anti-superstition campaigns going on in Kampala. So that's what we're working on. And anybody who buys a T-shirt, I'll just send them money. And here's another poster of these sort of, there's a term for orphans in Uganda. Orphans are called vulnerable children, and I always thought that was a little like kind of like a British term or just kind of a weird term. But now the term vulnerable makes sense when you hear about how they're preyed upon by these traditional doctors. Okay, and that's the end, and I will take any questions. Okay, go ahead.